Dr. Okupe. I resigned from the party yesterday, but I have no grounds or guide towards anyone. It is purely and solely on ideological basis. I've been in politics for over 40 years, and my political lineage or leaning and pedigree is towards free enterprise and liberal democracy. We did, in fact, go into Labour Party just as a special purpose vehicle, so that our presidential candidate, our flag bearer, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, could find a platform on which to contest the elections. We had hoped that if we won, we would have had to sit down with the Labour leaders and find a common position, because neither of us is a Labour person or a leftist. But it was expedient for us at that time to find a platform, and we did find one. And I have been particularly very respectfully treated. I've enjoyed my stay in Labour Party, but because of these ideological differences, I had to resign. But I wish the party well, and I also wish my principal, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, every success in his future endeavor.
Okay, welcome back. Well, yes, indeed, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo joins us here this morning, spokesperson of former presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, by the way,
Nigerians.
I was talking about 5,000 naira for third-party insurance. No, I've been corrected. It is actually 15,000 naira for third-party insurance. So multiply that by, say, if a state has 10 million or 15 million people who have registered. That's how much we're talking about. Who will cancel that money? What happened to that money? Because I know you don't even bother. After you register, you pick and just say, please, let them carry their wallet and go. You don't do anything with it. Where does the money go?
And when you I think the most annoying part, Chamberlain, is that when something happens to your car, nobody knows when you actually claim that money. People still find themselves fixing the cars. Because if we know that insurance truly works, especially the third-party insurance, whenever it is you find car mishaps on the road, we shouldn't see people coming down and fighting. Yeah. It should be a case of, I know I have at least third-party insurance, you should be able to take care of fixing your car.
It's just that these days, when that happens, you first of all think, what can 15K do now with this accident?
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work. It's the minimum you pay, but whenever it is that something happens, there should be an allowance, within which you should be able to fix your car.
Yeah, but third-party insurance cannot do much for you.
We should speak with them and let us even know what 15,000 naira covers. What does it get you? The problem is we don't even know.
That's a lot. Mr. Okonkwo doesn't pay it. I think it's with comprehensive insurance. So that's why he's surprised. What are these people talking about?
The comprehensive family, is that correct?
Well, basically, the third-party insurance is meant to is meant to take care of the liability of the third party. In other words, if I'm involved in an accident with you, the insurance is to take care of your car. That's why it's called third party.
Yeah.
Now, insurance is a business strategy where the fortunate helps the unfortunate. So it doesn't mean their liability is going to be restricted to 15,000.
Indeed.
They ought to take care of the car. That is why you pay, whether you have accident or not. So the accumulated money, when you become unfortunate, they ought to take care of it.
Wait, doesn't it elapse after a year?
No, that's what I'm saying.
So you just pay it every year?
Yes.
So whether if you pay for 5, 10 years
without having any accident, it's their money. That is why they would have to come to your aid to take care of all the liability, not just the 15,000. So the fortunate pulls money together to help the unfortunate.
I like what they say. Test the law.
Exactly.
Go there, go out there.
Exactly. Thank you for that clarification.
No,
that's why it's good to have lawyers in the studio.
I actually read business administration before reading law.
So you see. Okay, now another lawyer was in the villa yesterday. I'm sure you must have seen that picture as well. Because he was there, and of course, but wait a minute. If the president calls you, Mr. Okonkwo, won't you go?
In Nigeria, after seeing that picture, I think everybody is a suspect, including me.
Oh, dear.
It's just that I've not had enough evidence to convict myself. There's nothing wrong in seeing the president. You don't say no to a president. But there's something wrong when you psychophantically make a 360 degree to all the principles you say you hold dear. What have changed? Now, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He has the right to command me to come and see him. I would not have a choice in it, but I would have a choice to what I would say. I would have a choice to my demeanor when I had finished seeing him. What he cannot command is what I would say. But if he says I must see him, I have to see him. He's in charge of the security of myself, including me. You have to respect the office of the president. From where I come from, there is an adage that when you're giving a message to the king, you can deliver the message. But when you're told to go and carry the king, you cannot go to carry the king. So it is really very pathetic.
In other words, they may say politics is a game of interest. Your brand of politics doesn't accommodate this kind of interest.
The game of integrity. You're driven by what was your intention when you decided to join politics. I couldn't have left my comfort zone as a movie actor, a pioneer one for that matter, to come into politics and begin to be psychophantic. What else do you want to give me? Fame? Fortune? I believe before you get into politics, you should have minimal of all these things so that you wouldn't be thrilled by them. I would prefer to be called Kenneth, the servant. There is a need that you have to live your life in service of God and service of humanity. That should be the only force that should drive you into getting into politics. You said you didn't like Muslim ticket. You left on your own volition. Has the Muslim ticket been solved? If you are talking about corruption, there are two beautiful achievements this government has achieved since they came into power. Give it to them. And that is consumption and corruption. So, would you say these things have been addressed? What would be your reason for getting into the ruling party? How can you convince people that it is not because of the quest for power and quest for money? You should be able, whenever you want to make a move, why do you want to make the move? It is not the move that is the problem. Even in court, even in judgment, they'll tell you it's not the ratio that is the problem. What was the reason for the ratio?
But, yeah, okay.
Well, I was just thinking, my mind was traveling quite a bit because, you've said a lot of things. You've talked about integrity. You've talked about even your own motivations for moving. First, for joining politics, I mean to say, first I was just wondering, and this is just an aside, whether or not it is not possible to be a movie actor at the same time be a politician. Are there two things that are, mutually exclusive?
No.
So you could still have continued in your career?
Absolutely. But you see, most of these jobs are jobs you cannot delegate. As an actor, I play the lead 98% of the time. Mm-hmm. I'm expected to come first. I'm expected to go last. Serving the people is a full-time job. You can be called at any time. If I leave the movie set, everything will stand still until I come back. So at a certain point, I was combining both. And when I saw that I was getting deeper, and both are going to suffer, because you can't delegate either. And being a perfectionist, anywhere I am, I want to give my best. One has to give way.
I see. Okay, so let me come back now, because you have also been a member of the APC. You defected from the APC to join the Labour Party. And I do not know what it was that made you join the APC, but I want to imagine that when you leave a party, you know, for whatever reason you leave a party to another party, the people there do not automatically become enemies, do they?
First of all, I'm always not very comfortable with the word defection. I resigned from APC and I joined another party. You defect when you move from a party to another. Let's say you are a member of the National Assembly. And in Nigeria, you must be a member of a political party to hold any office. Mm-hmm. So there won't be any chance for you to resign. In that circumstance, you can defect. Good. But when you resign and join another party, that's not defection. Okay,
because you're not holding any public office.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, well, but I think the point I was trying to make is the fact that the people you met there, yes, some of them are people that you would have made friends with.
Till today, they are still my friends.
Exactly. So
it has nothing
how does
to do
it work then?
In APC.
Yeah, how does it, I mean, how do you manage such relationships?
Oh, beautifully well. When you relate on the intellectual plane, there's nothing personal about it. You can be entitled to your own opinion, but you cannot be entitled to your own facts. So when you are honest and you put the facts on the table, everybody says it. You may be surprised that Nigerians know the truth. They simply don't have the will to implement the truth. Those people that are running to go and shake hands, they know the truth. Because it was the truth purportedly that made them to leave the place in the first place. So, if you are going back to the same place you left, purporting on the basis of truth, you better be able to convince people that there is another truth you have discovered that is non-existent. Okay, so, it doesn't make you enemies at all.
Okay.
But it makes you to differ.
Okay, so because a major defection happened from your party, Labour Party, to, well, I do not know that Dr. Okupe has entered in any other political party.
That's why you wouldn't use the word defection.
Exactly. Well, so maybe
major resignation.
A major resignation. Let's just use the word. Let's use your term, resignation. No, but a major, you know, leaving of a party happened within your own party. The former DG campaign manager of the Peter Obi and Dati campaign organization, you know, resigned from the Labour Party. And he gave his reasons. He says it was on ideological grounds, that they had left a party, the PDP, a bit in a hurry, almost, and they were looking for a special purpose vehicle. And they found the Labour Party. For them, it was just a vehicle. The ideology, according to him, didn't quite sit well with them, but they figured, you know, after we get to office, we can always figure that out. It didn't quite work out. And now this is where he is, and he's finding that he's unable. He's not exactly a leftist. That's what he said. And he doesn't think that he believes in market principles. So he's resigned from the party. But it doesn't appear that the Labour Party is saying it his way. They think that he has something up his sleeve, and that, you know, this is about politicians not being truthful. Why do you think the Labour Party is quick to reach a conclusion like that when he hasn't exactly joined any other party?
Well, first of all, he has the absolute right of freedom of assembly and freedom of association. It is his fundamental right. So I respect it, and I wish him well. Now, I wouldn't have had anything against it but I have reservations on the reasons he gave. I must have to say that word, special purpose vehicle, I always cringe when I hear it. Because when we were in the process of campaign, I remembered one tape that was exposed by one Michael. And he said special purpose vehicle is the vehicle that politicians use to siphon money in the name of consultancy contract award. So I am uncomfortable with his choice of words. If you wanna ask me, I'll say it's ill-advised. Because when you say ideological differences, it was existing before you entered the party. Could it then be that you are an opportunist? Because you said, and I'm talking about what he said, the only reason you entered was to go and contest the election. And the question is this: if he had gone into election and won, would he have remembered ideological differences? That is why you are an opportunist. That is why you have portrayed yourself as an opportunist. So your whole idea is to go in and win election, not ideology.
Was there any consultation within the party? Were you aware of any before he made that decision?
Well, I know, saying what I know, that immediately he stepped down from the DG, I can say it with every degree of responsibility, that he constructively had left the party, because I wasn't aware of any other interaction he had with the party. I wasn't aware. So I think he just verbalized it. So that's all I can say about it.
But why do you think he left, though?
Well, you wouldn't have been asking me when he wrote it down in his own resignation letter.
You didn't quite agree
with the wordings of his letter.
Yeah, so I'm asking, what do you then think is the reason why he left?
No, I am saying I differ with his choice of words. I'm not like saying good. He said it's his reasons. And I'm saying I differ with it. There was nothing about him when we were campaigning that showed me that he entered into this just to win or lose election.
Okay, so if you were in his shoes...
That was not my opinion.
If you were in his shoes, what would you have done?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
My goodness. What would I have done if I wanted to resign? If I was in his shoes, at his age, I would be thinking about how to go and stay with my grandchildren. Maybe. If I believe, because he has sampled all the parties, and he said he's a rightist. I wonder which party in Nigeria now has a clear ideology of right or left.
So it's interesting you say that, because, I mean, only yesterday, a colleague of mine, on the sister program, Politics Today, interviewed Professor Patutomi, and on his mega party plans, Professor Patutomi is no stranger to you, and he was talking about the state of political parties in Nigeria and how, you know, parties do not exactly have ideologies, and that's why we see these defections or resignations, if you prefer. Resignations.
That's why I'm surprised.
And he was talking about how in South Africa, the ANC, how party policies, government policies are discussed even at the ward levels. So when politicians have this thing about, you know, other people having, yes, there's some politicians who have said, look, I'm in this political party, I don't intend to leave this party. I don't care how it does. This is going to be me till the day I die. There are politicians who have said that. Politicians who have said it, and we're not quite sure where they are. But there are politicians who have stayed true to themselves. Let's put it that way. And there are those who say, look, I agree with this party today, but I see that it no longer fits with my ideology or what I personally believe, and I move to another party tomorrow. Do you think that those politicians should be condemned, given the fact that you have just admitted that there's basically no ideology to, you know, a number of political parties in Nigeria?
Good. I did not say there is no ideology. I said there's no clear cut ideology. And then people mutate according to different reasons. You will see a president who will go in and he has a different ideology from his party in Nigeria. And the party will become confused. APC, for instance, if you read their manifesto, you'll be so thrilled. And if they had followed the manifesto, there wouldn't have been any reason they wouldn't have achieved their objectives. They talked about restructuring. They talked about state police. They talked about 1 naira to $1. And if they had followed those steps, they would have arrived at the decision. Then a president came in and said, sorry, I don't even know what you're talking about. So there is no dedication. There is no determination. There is no discipline. When you don't have this, sorry, you cannot have consistency in creativity that will give you the objectives that you want. So it is in a state of flux. That's why when I hear somebody saying ideological differences, which one? So what we have in Nigeria now is that you identify a politician that you believe has the commensurate character, competence, and capacity that you know can generate the ideas that can solve Nigeria problems, not the issue of party. Because you have to establish party discipline first before you can say the party can, impose its will on its elected members. That we don't have. When people are elected in Nigeria, they become leaders of the party. And what the party had in mind electing them becomes secondary and subordinates itself to their majesty. So because of that system, it is better if you're looking for a new Nigeria, for instance. That's the only reason we entered Labour Party. To identify the politicians that have these qualities, irrespective of whatever they have in their manifesto. Recall that when I was the former presidential spokesperson, I did tell Nigerians, please ignore whatever is in the manifesto. Whoever wants to be your president must come and sit down and tell you what he has for you, and you cross-examine him. In absence of that, whatever you see in the manifesto is just the beautiful, brilliant work of one professor somewhere that will end up in a dustbin. And quote me on that.
Ayo.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Well, Mr. Okonkwo, okay, let me use legal language. I put it to you that you have looked at my script as an actor because you have taken from my script to say some of the things.
Particularly, I certainly love that script because it's an interesting one.
First, because I was actually going to ask
for plagiarism.
Don't worry, I won't sue you, I promise. But I was actually going to take you up on the issue of ideological politics, and I'm glad you mentioned it and Mark followed up on that. Maybe we should take that a little further. And I always make this reference for those who are not aware of where we are coming from politically in Nigeria. In the First Republic, we had such clear ideological political parties that it was difficult for anyone to just jump from one party to another. In the Second Republic, it was the same. I don't recall the process by which someone would just jump from one party to another, confusing their own followers and all of that, and just saying, well, my people said. In the Third Republic, it was just two political parties, but it was also very, very clear. In these three republics, we had the supremacy of the party. We had the chairman of the party being the overall boss, and the president or whoever was elected was subordinate to the party. Now, that has greatly changed. The funding of political parties is equally as difficult because back in time, it was the people that funded the political parties by their contributions. How do we get back there in a way that it's not just one leader of the party, as you said, who is an elected official that governs and rules over everything, as opposed to the party leading the charge of what they promised Nigerians?
The way we will get back to that is rule of law. In Nigeria, elected officers are the first malfeasance. They are the first culprits that break the law at will. The laws are there. Even in the party constitution, the laws are there. But once somebody catches any political power, he sees himself as being above the law. You can imagine, you catch somebody driving the wrong way, and he will boldly tell you, I am a soldier. And it's irresponsible of you to catch me driving through the wrong way. This is the mentality. If we can implement the rule of law equally on everybody, that is the only route to get back to that. The days you were talking about, people had shame, they had conscience, and they had the ability to maintain the law. They were just coming out from colonialism, which they spent almost 100 years under. And it has already been entrenched in their DNA that you obey the law or you pay the penalty. So that is just what is happening. Indiscipline, corruption, carelessness.
Okay, you are a member of, okay, let me just be clear. Are you a member of the Labour Party?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Can you give us an example of how it happens in the Labour Party, what things you think need to change? Because people hear more of the candidate, the presidential candidate of your party, than we hear of the chairman of the party or the other officials of the party. And then also talk to us about the funding of the political party, because that's another very, very intricate thing that determines to a large extent the ownership or leadership of the party.
Well, like I told you, do not think that Labour Party is exempted from indiscipline. You know, before P2B came into Labour Party, they didn't have much of elected officers. So you can only test the level of their discipline after we have now had some members that are elected. When this government wanted to corruptly enrich the members of the National Assembly by giving them 165 million naira each of 100% imported SUV, the Labour Party kicked against it. The Labour Party said, no, we don't want this. Nigerians are too hungry to afford this. But not one of the elected representatives of Labour Party, not to my knowledge, came out to forcefully say, my party has said this, and I'm not part of it. That is what we're saying. And that's why I said, unless the party elected leaders subordinate themselves to the ideology of their parties, we will not get there. And that is why I'm saying, whoever becomes the president is very, very important. I know what P2B would have done. He did it in Anambra State. He was going with only 2 or 3 vehicles. He would drive himself to the filling station, and they will fill the cars, and he will pay. He will bring out money as governor and pay for it. Whatever money he's giving out, he's supervising it. So if P2B, for instance, I'm just saying, had been president, then who are you to go and tell him he will spend 165 million naira to purchase SUV for you? And he will ask you, because that's what he will do. He will ask you why. And then you will tell him, you know, we have bad roads. You see, the reasons these people give is mind-boggling, that they have bad roads. This government has been, the APC government has been in power for more than 8 years. And they're saying they have bad roads. They need solid cars in order to ply the bad roads which they inflicted on the people. Then P2B will say, okay, Give me the list of those bad roads. You are elected people of your place. Let's repair the bad roads so that they can use made in Nigerian cars. So, but these people will say, no, let us acquire this machine. Of course, you know it's not bad roads. They just want to show off so that more of their picadillos can get attracted to them so that they will continue
Mr. Okonkwo, while a number of people might speak to the probity of what you are saying, there are those who would also see that as erroneous in a democracy, because the independence of the legislature is very, very clear, particularly at the federal level. So I don't know, do you think the president would have had a say or would have been able to say no to the legislature doing whatever they wanted, as opposed to the people taking them on by themselves? Because you know that they have a first-line charge. Do you think the president would have had any say in whether or not these legislators at the federal level did whatever they wanted to do?
First of all, according to the Constitution, the subheads of every expenditure is initiated by the executive. The legislature has the right only to approve. So you cannot be a member of the legislature and force it on the executive that you must drive SUV, because everything must have to be in the Appropriation Act. But then if you're a president, you cannot be driving the most powerful SUV and then you have the right to tell the Senate president, no, you can't drive this. So if the president, for instance, says, it is the policy of this government that every official of the government must drive made in Nigerian car, it becomes a policy. The duty of the National Assembly is to make laws.
Okay.
Not to execute them or administer them. So if the president himself is using made in Nigerian car, I'll tell you, no member of the National Assembly will ever even have the guts to ask for it.
Now, talking about the travel policy that the president recently came up with, of course, your candidate has also spoken about that one. But we had a guest in our studio yesterday saying that there are some things that the president cannot control. For instance, the president cannot control his own protocol. He can't control his own security. So in the name of cost cutting and all of that, do you think he was right? The senator we had in the studio yesterday saying there is nothing the president would have been able to do to say that his security personnel or his security protocol will not travel with him, but that the news is that the president wants the security in all the various states to take care of him. But protocol says he must be taken care of by specially trained people because he's the president of the most populous black nation in the world.
You know, whoever said that does not have what it takes to be an elected representative of the people. You're telling the president. If the president cannot control his own security, how can he control the security of all the 200 million Nigerian citizens? What a logic. It falls so flat. The president is in charge. When Peter Obi was governor, they told him, when you're traveling, large people will follow you. He said, no, I can carry my suitcase. If I enter the plane from the east, they will drop me in Abuja, and I will ask the IG to send me like 2 policemen or 5 policemen. When they take me from the airport to the hotel, I'll dash them maybe 5,000, 10,000. And they will go, and I'll just stay my 2 days and I will come back. And he cut cost completely. He's still alive. Forget those stories. Was he not the president that now came out and told you he has cut down on the protocols and that whenever he's visiting any state, the state should take care of his security? So was he not the president that said it? Then is he not now controlling the security? So forget all this sycophantic, unnecessary, illogical reasoning just to attract attention and favor from the leaders.
So you don't agree? You don't agree that there are some things that the president may not be aware of, particularly concerning the protocols around him? Because there are those who say that there are specialties around such, that protect, VIP protection they call it. That there's a special training for such persons, particularly that of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You don't agree that it is that special?
The guiding of the President is one of the topmost security issues in the world. Because harming a president has a lot of ramifications, including the destruction of a country. So there is a need for very, very special people to guard the president. There's no anybody that tells you it's not important, does not know anything about administration. It is very important, and I want the best hands to guard the president. That's not what I'm saying. That does not make you corrupt. You know, forget all these optics. I heard that the president came out and said he has reduced the numbers of people that follow him. These are optics. We're not talking about reducing the numbers. We're talking about reducing the cost. I will tell you the difference. If the president is serious that he has drawn down expenses in that field to the tune of 60%, let him immediately raise a supplementary budget so that that 60% will go into savings transparently. When you say you have reduced the numbers, it doesn't mean that you have achieved anything. Why did I say so? The politicians will know how to die the money because it is already appropriated for. If you say, I should take 5 persons to make trips, I'll say, okay, in order to die the money, I'll just double the number of trips I'll make. And it will be the same cost. I can increase the feeding allowance, or what I will call in the local palace, chop money, that I'm giving them. Instead of giving them 10 naira, if I increase it to 20 naira, it will come to the same cost. Enough of these optics.
Okay.
When you want to reduce cost, you reduce it and put it in saving, and it will be there. Not saying you have reduced numbers. That will have nothing to do with the cost.
Even though the...
reappropriate it.
Even though the spokesperson to the president said that reducing the number directly or indirectly affects the costs as well, particularly for international trips. But you may respond to that one. But the question that I'd like to ask you next before I toss back to my colleagues, just 1 second. You can take the two together, but the question I'd like you to speak to Nigerians about now is the rhetorics that should be following some of the actions of the president. What would you be saying to young people right now? You also said something that there are some steps that the president has taken that are commendable and we should give it to him. But that's not the rhetoric that a good number of people hear. What should Nigerians be doing? Because at this moment, we have a president in office. At this moment, we have governors in office who, one way or the other, a number of people are saying they're not really cooperating with the federal government. How should that collaboration happen between federal and state governments, and what should Nigerians be looking out for to ensure whether or not those collaborations are working?
Well, first of all, the word commendability is your word, not mine. I never said there are things that they have done that should be commended. I said there are 2 achievements that they have made, and that is consumption and corruption. If you would commend these things, I would not commend them. I would rather condemn them, because we're talking about shifting emphasis from consumption to production. And what they have been doing since they came in is consuming, not producing. And of course, in a corrupt manner. Corruption is the abuse of public power for private gain. The dictionary will tell you that corruption means the fraudulent and dishonest conduct of people in power, specifically involving bribery, typically involving bribery. I don't need to tell you, that is what has just been going on. you can imagine a ministry called Special Purpose Vehicle. I think that should be the best name for the social investment program or humanitarian ministry. Can you imagine this ministry that is devoted purportedly to help the poor and the vulnerable? Okay, let us even assume, without conceding, that 585 million is meant for vulnerable people. And then you're spending 3-point-something billion naira for consultancy service award. When you hear such name, like I told you, it is the name politicians use to divide money among themselves and siphon it for their use. That's all. What are you consulting? Now, you're spending 3-point-something billion consultancy fee. One minister got 428 million naira of that money. And you're giving 4 states 585 million. Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Lagos, Ogun. In Lagos State, people are falling off and falling into Atlantic Ocean from the 3rd mainland bridge committing suicide because of economic hardship. More than 20 million persons. Yet, you're dashing politicians 3-point-something billion and you're giving 4 states 585 million. Unfortunately, that 585 million wouldn't even have gotten to them. As you can see, they say it was paid into a private account, which they are still trying to sort out whether the account is existing or not. Is that what you want me to commend? I condemn it with everything that is within me. And I will tell the youths of this country, don't ever learn to be like these people. Have conscience, have character.
One more thing before you go. Let's talk about parties, new party that Prof was talking about yesterday. Should we expect a new political party? Is Labour Party going to be part of it? What's your impression about it?
You know, personally, I believe that there has to be a kind of coalition. It's always advisable because in any known democracy, 2-party system will eventually be dominant. And that's the only way the opposition can make reasonable impact. And when it is an issue of Nigeria, it becomes almost mandatory. Where even if you win, you have to defend, unfortunately, your victory. So there is a necessity for that
to happen.
But you see, if they don't start early, grooming people who will take over the party to be people of ideology, people of character, the same virus.
Would you be part of it?
Infected, the other people will infect them.
Would you be part of this if called upon?
Watch me and watch where I am going.
Where are you going?
To a new Nigeria.
Okay, because...
And whatever is going to bring it to come to pass, I will be willing to be part of it.
Maybe it's early days,
and in any circumstance that I see that every of the platforms are infected and infiltrated, I will do sit-down look.
Oh, okay. Because people wonder how that will play out. Because when they spoke about those other 3 persons, Atiku, Kwankwaso, Peter Obi, they all wanted to be president. So one wonders how that will play up in that mix. It will be interesting to see.
Oh, yes. If they only had been disciplined to the rule stated in their party constitution, there wouldn't have been any confusion.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Kenneth Okonkwo, former spokesperson for the presidential candidate of Labour Party. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, back in a moment. Don't go away.